I'd like to welcome everybody to the August 23rd Public Safety Meeting. Could we have a roll call, please?
Alderman Plufka?
Here.
Alderwoman Sims? Absent. Alderman Lockmiller?
Here.
Alderman Erger? Here. 3 of 4 members present, representing a quorum.
Thank you. And before we go any farther, I want to officially welcome Sullivan Erger to the committee and to the board. Welcome, and we're looking forward to having you be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do you have anything you wanted to say?
Nope, just thank you.
Okay.
Yep.
Item 2 on the agenda tonight is the approval or amendments to the agenda. Everybody had a chance to look at the agenda? Anybody have any suggestions for changes or alterations? Hearing none, the agenda will stand as submitted. Our third item on the agenda tonight is citizen comments. Is there anybody in the audience or online who wishes to address this committee on any issue of public safety? You'll be given 3 minutes. Please identify yourself and your address.
No one has their hand raised.
Thank you. I'll close.
Oh, wait, I lied. We have Alderman Gould is on the line.
Okay. Well, I don't know. Are you sure? Have we vetted what he's going to ask about? Alderman Gould? Is he muted? Frozen? We do have another comment opportunity.
Down, so I don't know.
Oh, okay. All right, we'll close citizen comments. Item 4 on our agenda are the city administrator's report. Madam City Administrator.
Thank you, Alderman Plufka.
Thank you.
I am happy to share with the Public Safety Committee that staff has started the work on the fiscal year 2024 proposed budget. And we are going to each committee meeting and asking the members of those committee meetings that if you have other priority projects, initiatives, additional services that you would like us to consider and present along with the proposed budget to the Ways and Means Committee at their September 7th meeting, please let us know. We have started promoting the Citizens Budget Forum so that our residents also have an opportunity to convey to you all and staff what additional priorities they may have for the next year.
Can I ask a question about that? So the next meeting of this committee wouldn't be until the end of September. Is it too late at that point to submit?
No, it is not.
Okay. And so I would just encourage any members of the committee talking to residents, they want to put anything on the agenda for consideration or they want to have it considered in terms of budget, just email me and we'll make sure we get it on the agenda. Okay? Thank you very much. Thank you.
The second item I have is just to share with you that in the tradition of the Brentwood Police Department, the East Central Dispatch Center, which we are a member, has also successfully completed its first accreditation process designed to maintain international recognition for public safety communications and accreditation by the Commission on Accreditation for Law Enforcement Agencies. This is for a 4-year period, so that information and the press release is also in your board packet.
Are there any questions from the committee with regard to CALIA or that certification process? Administrator. Next, we have report of committee chair and alderman. My only report is to say that we had gotten video of cars driving in the park area on walkways that were designed for pedestrian use and bicycle use. And it's anecdotally been told to me and I think other members of the committee that that's happened on a number of occasions. There are some strategies, and I've received emails from concerned residents with regard to that safety issue. It went to Ways and Means last night, Ways and Means, or the other night. I'm sorry, right, Public Works, sorry. they had talked about it and made the decision, I think, at the committee level to wait until that punch list with KCI and the other contractors is completed, and then we'll address it probably with the use of bollards or other devices that will help
Right.
encourage folks not to use the parkway in that way. But there's going to be more to come about that. It's just that the timing of it right now, we want to wait until that punch list is completed.
That is correct.
I don't have any other report. Alderwoman Sims is not here tonight. Alderman Lockmuller?
No report.
Thank you very much. Alderman Erger?
Nothing to report.
Thank you. We move on to the department reports, and we start with our police department and information about CALIA recertification.
Good evening. I could start off with the CALIA recertification. In 2019, the Brentwood Police Department was certified, as you know, through CALIA. Alderman Erger, but for your benefit, I don't know how much you know about CALIA, but it is a way for all police departments to employ them, and it's an outside agency to come in and really scour the police department and hold you accountable really on a daily basis about how we do business in terms of, it could be audits, it could be adhering to our orders, whatever it may be, mainly based on best practice. So in 2019, we were certified, and then this last July, we went to Oklahoma City for the 4-year review. Every 4 years, they recertify the departments that they have on your cycle, your 4-year cycle. So in July, we went, Major McIntyre, myself, Boschert, and Joe Sullivan, went to Oklahoma City, where the CALIA board then interviews me for a period of time, asking questions about on-site visit that they did, and all of the, basically really 4 years of information, because each year CALIA comes to our department and reviews what we're doing. So out of all those standards and all of that information that they had, they interviewed us, and we received our award that evening, and we were recertified. So the process of CALIA continues. It's almost a daily deal. Jim McIntyre and Kevin Boschert have been outstanding for our department in doing it. So on September 5th, we will be switching McIntyre's position in our department to Angela Hawkins. Angie's going to be the administrative major going forward, so she will have that CALIA responsibility. Jason Simpson then will take Angie's position as Bureau Community Policing supervisor. So the CALIA piece for us is it's vital for us not only to perform well within our department, but to maintain a standard that something that really is becoming very popular nationwide in CALIA. With regard to our crime throughout the last few months, and it's we missed a meeting, so this is really representation of over a few weeks. We saw, and I said on prior occasions this year, that our nighttime crime had quieted down quite a bit. Unfortunately, in July, we had some incidents that it resurrected again, and then in August. Just in August, roughly between the 5th and roughly the 16th of August, there were multiple incidents that occurred, and a lot of them occurred in Brentwood Forest. We had several cars broken into and a couple stolen out of that area. So it resulted in a couple of arrests, one over in East St. Louis, one in the city of St. Louis by city officers of one of the cars stolen there. And our officers were able to get 4 juveniles in custody for breaking into a car in Brentwood Forest. And I'd like to give a little heads up and appreciation for our new dog. Red was called to the scene to help hunt down the bad guys in that case. And during his assistance, he was also able to locate in a bush, completely hidden from everyone, a sack that contained their little goodies that they use to break into Hyundais and Kias. There's actually some components that they use, and Red found that. So we really kind of solidified that case and helped the officers as they put that case together, and on what ended up being 4 juveniles. I'll talk later in new business about an initiative that we are looking to do with regard to this nighttime crime issue. But as quiet as it was the first few months of this year, we have seen incidents starting to tune up again, and it's occurring really throughout St. Louis County again. So we're not the only ones that's being affected at this point. Had a couple notable arrests during this period. One happened a few days ago. Theron Johnson was on patrol, and while on patrol, he saw 2 guys who were masked up, gloved up, breaking into a mailbox. You probably recall over the course of the last few months, we've documented and talked about these cases of people breaking into mailboxes. They use a key to get into the mailbox that's cloned from wherever. These are organized groups that have been doing this really throughout the country, and we've been hit numerous times here in Brentwood. And Officer Johnson sees these guys, they try to run, he catches them. Postal inspectors got called because there was a bunch of mail in the car that they stopped. This happened at High School Drive the other night, and they had stolen mail from multiple mailboxes in the area, Webster Groves, I think Maplewood, a couple others. During a search of the car, they also found the key to the mailbox. So the postal inspectors are working with our officers on this case. You know, and you might say, well, this really isn't that big of a deal. It's not a violent crime, which it isn't. They are wreaking havoc on a lot of people by doing fraud. What they do is get checks out of the mail, and then they go into your account and they steal and they steal and they steal until they're caught. And they're very difficult, very challenging to catch them doing this. So catching them in the act of stealing the checks and stealing the mail is important. And it also happens to be a federal offense. So it's a nice arrest. We had a couple other things that happened during this period of time. I gave Bola a heads up on an arrest from earlier from Target, where a guy was taking pictures of a underage girl. This happens pretty frequently, not necessarily in Brentwood, but this is a fun thing for perverts to do. The guy has been arrested and charges will be applied for what he did. At this point, they're taken under advisement pending search warrants that are being done on some computer devices related to the case. So that happened a few days ago here in Brentwood at our Target. A couple other things. As you know, we requested to do a budget adjustment and use asset forfeiture funds to purchase a UTV for our park. We just got notification today that that UTV is actually being assembled and built at their factory, should deliver and arrive somewhere in the next 3 weeks. We then have to have equipment put in it and the markings of the police department placed on the UTV. Fire department has theirs. Ronnie's probably going to mention it. It really turned out nice.
Yeah.
Theirs is nice. We have the exact same UTV, except ours won't be red and say fire. It'll look like the police.
Right. So you'll be able to tell them apart, in other words.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Also related to the conversation in new business, when I get to that point, I wanted to mention that our flock cameras continue to really assist us in protecting the city. We're up to 119 flock hits already this year. Many of those are stolen cars, and many of those have resulted in our officers locating the vehicle and either making arrests or jumping the cars and having a brief pursuit scenario where they end up letting them go. But still is an impactful way to protect our city. These cameras are really helping us. So they also give us, as you know, the opportunity on the backside to do forensic investigations. So our detectives, if we have, that's exactly how the guy got caught at Target, who did the videoing of the young lady in the dressing room, was they went into a flock camera and they located that car. And they found the plate, and that was how that thing unfolded. It was a flock camera hit, so they are very valuable to us at this point. As you know, or as you may remember, Ammon Figgs, who was our SRO for a couple of years over at Brentwood Schools, was promoted to the rank of corporal, and he's back in the line platoon. So we had to replace him with Hobby. I think some of you might have bounced into Amir as he's moved around the city. He's a very outgoing guy. I think he's going to be a good selection. We actually had an interview process with Dr. Lane, with the candidates from the police department that were interested in that job. And myself, Major Hawkins, and Dr. Lane selected Javi as being our SRO. I think he's going to do a real good job over there. I believe that's all I had, sir. Questions?
I just want to, so SRO stands for,
School Resource Officer.
thank you, and that's been a deployed position for a number of years now?
Yes, sir. Since 2019, and Brentwood School District continues, I hope, to pay 75% of that salary.
Those, the flock cameras themselves, the flock refers to the sort of the brand name, right? And
Yes, sir.
but it's a camera that will allow in real time for you to share information and to gather information. And it also has a component part of it that will allow you to read license plates.
Right. Yeah, so it has an embedded license plate reader, and the huge advantage of that is it's on all our laptops in our police cars. So it's almost immediate. It's within a few seconds when they get a hit, and then you can tone down or dial down what you're looking for. So if you put it in for all felony related cases, that's what you'll get. or you're going to open it up and, you know, it may drive you crazy if you're going to bench warrants, but,
Thank you. I just wanted to, just do a question.
yes, sir.
Congratulations on getting recertified. And is there any plus to having now the dispatchers also CLIA certified?
Yes, I think very much so. I mean, and not that they were, I think Mr. Jokerst over there does a really fine job, but for all of us, it holds your foot to the fire to make sure that you're being attentive to what you say you do. I think that's the highest value to CALIA, honestly.
But
So, yeah.
as we go for recertification again, another 4 years, and if they're accredited, is there a plus there to?
Yeah, working hand in hand with your dispatching center, there is. They ask about it when, you know, they asked about that when I was in Oklahoma City about the certification of our dispatching center. So, yes, I think there is. It professionalizes that piece of us as well.
As far as the Flox cameras, do you need any more?
Sure. I think Eric's in the back. Eric, we're getting ready to do one in the park, or near the park, I believe. In the budget, where are we? So we have one.
It is in the
for-
budget.
for our
There's
park.
multiple, up to 3.
Okay.
When Eric put together the safety package, when we all sat down, I think there was an additional camera for the park, and then there's 2 more. So they're not cheap, though. I mean, this is not inexpensive technology, but start looking at its value, I think it's worth the money we're spending.
Really?
Deployed now?
Sir?
7 that are deployed
Right
now?
now, yeah.
Could you see use for next year's budget as far as additional?
We're working with our IT side to put, it's in the budget
Okay.
that's being proposed, and I don't think Lola's met with them yet.
The new entrance into the park off of Brentwood and Russell, right there, that will become Brazil. So we met with Chief Speece earlier on, so there will be one there. I believe that there's interest in one off of Manchester, but we know that there's no direct access to the park from there. But I think there's a total of 3 that we're proposing, and so it's part of the IT budget.
There be any opportunity, you know, since Sarah's got the cameras that are affiliated with Brentwood Bound, essentially, they're live action cameras, or you
Right.
can, and I'm not talking about the cameras themselves, but the poles that they're attached to, the places they're attached to. Is that something that Flock can use to? I mean,
In the
they don't
park
have to
system?
have-
It's always a challenge to get past MoDOT and St. Louis County for
Oh,
our
okay.
flock cameras. So if they've already been approved for a camera in those locations, it could
Yeah.
be a big assist to us.
Right,
yes.
otherwise we have to go back to them.
Right.
Yeah.
But
There's
right
4
now.
there's 4 now. I mean, I look at it all
Right.
the time. But
And, you know, I know that the Board of Aldermen find value, as the staff. I think, Eric, that's always a to-go-to item for them every day when they come in, because they're able to look at different kinds of activities, you know, that we didn't even know were going on in the park. Park's supposed to be closed at night. So we're looking at how we keep that going, always. There's some cost, but I know that you all find value, so maybe we can find dual purpose
Right.
for it.
I think it's important also to know that the flock camera systems are being used by a lot of different cities now, including our neighbors. They're all interconnected. So if Maplewood gets a hit coming down Manchester Road in Maplewood, our officers get that hit immediately. So, and the other thing about it is it's a good private partnership as well. Like, there are neighborhoods that are purchasing flock cameras for their own neighborhoods. We've got the Drury Inn's going up on one, Deerberg's is going up on one, and our garages are going up on one, which is really important. So, and that's outside the scope of city money, that's private money. But we have access to that process, so it's good.
Just out of curiosity, what prompted us to get CALIA accreditation? You mentioned in 2019.
Senate Bill 5.
So, yeah, I got here in 2018, and before I got here, the city had hired a company called PERF, which is a consulting company to come in and evaluate the police department. And there were some issues that they saw, and I think that was part of the impetus behind, hey, we need to go another step and look at the CALIA certification. Ironically, during my tenure here in Brentwood, the legislators in Missouri have said that all entities of any department of a certain size over this number of officers has to either have Missouri accreditation or CALIA accreditation. So we wouldn't have had a choice eventually. Yeah, but I got to tell you, in the state of law enforcement today, this is very common. It's popular now. We were just a little ahead of the curve.
So my last question is, will the UTV, will it have a space for red on the back? do you think?
Absolutely.
There you go.
Red's always got a seat.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Cottrell?
Good evening. I intend to go through this as brief as I can. I'll provide a department update. Start with our upper grants. We've been reporting on this in every meeting for quite some time. And as you have seen with your own eyes, we've had a lot of action in recent weeks. So receiving our Polaris UTV, this is a great addition to the city of Brentwood and how we'll be able to serve citizens and visitors in Brentwood for years to come. I spoke with the state today and submitted some additional paperwork to receive approval for the training component of our second ARPA grant. And so that is progressing as well. So once this is said and done, it is our anticipation we will receive $40,000 combined between the two grants in reimbursement prior to the end of this year. So we're very excited that this is playing out as we expected, just a little slower than we originally expected. I've learned more about Medicare this year than I thought I would ever know. And I reported at our last public safety meeting, we completed a mandatory report to Medicare. Little did I know I was going to receive our once every 5-year revalidation application the following month. So myself and Lieutenant Herman continue to work through that. We submitted our application, and this just allows us to continue to bill Medicare for our ambulance services. And so it's just a very thorough application process. We have new people in positions, including finance, including our EMS billing vendor. We have a new ambulance, so us providing a copy of our title to part of this process is just very lengthy, and we just continue to work through that. So we're close. We're almost done with that. At the same time, Lieutenant Herman completed our relicensure for our ground ambulance service through the state of Missouri. Again, this is completed once every 5 years, a very thorough evaluation. They do a site assessment, and we maintain that licensure good through June 30th of 2028. So my hat's off to Lieutenant Herman. He did a lot of work in preparation for that relicensure. As far as fire department training, even in the summer months with the high temp and high humidity, we still are keeping them moving, staying busy. We've just moved to our outdoor activities to indoor activities right now. Next week, they'll be back outdoors doing some roof work over in a building they're getting ready to tear down in Richmond Heights. We had the opportunity, I spoke about this at the last coffee with the mayor. STARS is a local organization founded in St. Louis after 9/11. So once the Department of Homeland Security was developed, STARS is a product of that, and they provide grants to local jurisdictions in preparation for events that may happen locally, where it could be an attack on the United States, but it's local resources responding. STARS provided grants, and we sent 2 paramedics to a very robust class where they are specialists now for urban search and rescue paramedics. So they can go in and treat patients that may be in wildfire incidents such as Maui, if there were patients to be treated, or collapse and earthquakes, hurricanes, flooding events like we have experienced. So a little bit more in depth than what our people are trained to on a day-to-day basis. So again, all of that was free of charge to the city of Brentwood. And then right now, we are completing our annual refresher with our Swiftwater, our rescue boat in the Missouri River. We have a lot of water right now, and doing it with all of our regional partners throughout St. Louis County. The Swiftwater techs are getting in the water, exercising the boat. It's just a great refresher. We try and do about every August. We had a big head start last year, July 26th, though. An update to dispatch from the fire perspective. Again, addition to their accreditation. The Fire Station Alerting Project, which is through St. Louis County and East Central Dispatch, we're close to being full implementation. The phase 1 is active, and so the automated dispatching is already occurring, and we have seen significant improvements in processing times. This has been a very positive thing for us. We continue to work and tweak that process. For example, in the event of a storm event, going into emergency operations, so we have to change procedures. We're still tweaking there. We're still working on that. We met yesterday, just so we don't send the same number of equipment if we're all stretched thin already. So we continue to work with dispatch on that. As far as the new CAD goes, I want to bring this to your attention because I've spoken with the city administrator on this a couple of times. The fire chiefs met with East Central Dispatch, voicing some concerns on the new system. It is a very good system. It's a very robust system. It is very much reliant on mapping data and then our vehicle locations. So it has to have accurate data of where our vehicles are at right now, every second. And at the same time, the route from where our vehicle is to where the incident is has to be clear and accurate at all times. We have had tremendous problems with the mapping on that. The AVL, the auto vehicle locator, we've fixed with connectivity. Some people had some connectivity issues. Brentwood really didn't. We worked through that. But fixing this mapping is a challenge. East Central has been responsive, and Regis now is responsive. So they have a new director who's recently retired from the Highway Patrol. He has asked the Highway Patrol to also help Regis personnel work on these maps. The assistant chief is working to do some testing for our units specific. For example, Richmond Heights had an incident, City of Clayton had an incident. They needed an ambulance. Ambulances were busy, but ours was in service in quarters. It selected an ambulance further away. We questioned it. It showed our route to get to Clayton Road as being 12 minutes long. We know it's completely inaccurate data. So that's an example that's been used throughout. So our goal, we get the closest unit to these people that are in need as fast as possible. That's why we had the life-saving award the other night. You had the closest unit, treat the patient, made a big difference. So I just bring that to your attention. East Central is very much responsive. They understand it. Regis is now, in the last 2 weeks, very responsive. And I hope at the next month to bring an improved report on that we have continued to do testing and see improvements with the mapping of that new CAD. The record management system, the next item on my report, today I just sent a contract to the city attorney for review. Our record management system, which we house all kinds of data in, but that's where we generate our reports that goes to the USFA and FEMA on a monthly basis. We have to report that. This system that we currently use was bought out by ESO. We have to go to a new system. The feds are changing their reporting requirements in 2025. So I hope to bring a new contract back in September or October, but we need to move on that pretty quick as well. But this will be an improvement to our reporting to you all moving forward that I anticipate will take effect in 2024. The EMS billing RFP, so we will be putting that out in September, and I'm curious to what we're going to see. We have a couple of requirements specific to Brentwood. They have to work with our software, the ESO that we currently use, and we need them to work with our consulting group that helps us with Missouri GEMT. along with some other Medicare reporting and whatnot. So those are very big components. If they can work with them, then what are their rates for the next few years? So we will be bringing that back to this board as well. That's all I have. Do you have any questions for me? Yes, sir.
I have one question. So, in the agreement we just made with Green Street, they had indicated a 500 square foot dedicated space for police and fire and EMS within the footprint of their build.
Okay.
Have you had a chance, I mean, if they reached out to you, I know it's very early on in the process, but have you looked at where they're likely to be building and whether there is a location that would be an appropriate place to store that UTV, or, you know what I mean? Is that, I guess my first question is, is it gonna be a benefit to have a place where it is stored in proximity to the park, that park, or someplace else, or
Sure.
what's
So
your?
I know my initial plan, let me back up. To answer your first question, am I aware? Yes. But have I had those discussions with Green Street or anybody in the city? No,
Yeah,
we haven't. Our initial plan is to deploy that UTV from our station because we can get to the trail system so quick from our station and that unit. We're not driving to another location, then them going and opening a facility to get in it. My intent is we arrive where the emergency is as quickly as possible. And I think we accomplished that from our station. We'll reevaluate that as it progresses, as it develops, but that is our initial plan.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Along the lines of that UTV, and you said you're doing some training with it right now. Can you kind of go through a scenario? Like, what kind of call would you get that you would jump into the UTV, and where would it be going, and how would it get there? And
Sure. So the style that we selected to purchase is capable of driving faster than a low-speed vehicle. So we can travel down Brentwood Boulevard to get to the park, or we could travel down Dorothy to get to the park, whatever may be appropriate for the location of the call. It may be to Hanley Industrial Court, in an area that's away from the roadway. I don't know. That call will dictate it, but that's having our personnel get on it and respond straight from our station anywhere in the city. Someone injured or ill, if someone tried to exercise in this heat and has a medical emergency on the trail system near the creek, this vehicle gets to them. And then we're not taking any larger vehicles on the trail system. This vehicle would then transport them to an awaiting ambulance further away.
so if we do end up needing ballards at certain entrances, you're going to chime in on whether that's a good idea or not.
Absolutely. I mean, we need to maintain access, but I understand the obvious need to limit access. That could create additional injuries.
Right.
So, yes, how do we find that compromise?
All right, thank you.
Just what prompted the purchase of the UTV? Was it the park, or was this going to happen either way?
No, so the park was the main driving force, especially when we had the trails right along the creek, and we have such a long stretch with no vehicle access. We've borrowed surrounding municipalities' UTVs for a number of years for Brentwood Day celebrations. So there's, the concerts in the parks are another opportunity for us to use this in a proactive scenario to where you're not responding to an emergency, but you're there as a preventative measure.
Thank you. Thanks very much, Chief. Parks and Recreation, Eric.
Good evening. Well, Alderman Plufka stole all my thunder because I was going to talk about the bollards and the vehicular access into the parks. So what he indicated was correct. The department's been looking into this for a little bit. It's amazing how when you go from a 2D drawing to real life, was like, oh, yeah, they can get in there. So we're looking at different spots. We have somewhere between 3 to 5 different locations that we think may need some type of access restriction, whether it's a bollard, whether it's a planter box, something a little bit more natural. Those are the things we're looking into right now. But the real big thing is letting the projects get done, so then we're not upsetting any of the contractual writings in there. So we're looking into it. We're going to be ordering them soon, so as soon as we have the go-ahead, we can get those installed.
Will these be bollards kind of like what you see in the middle of Brentwood Boulevard, or will they be like metal?
Yeah, it'd be metal, kind of like we have on some of the other trails, like down by Oak Tree Park, those type of things. Depending on the location, we might look into a solar bollard that might have lights too. So, if we go the bollard route, we'll be looking at those type of things. So that's what we're kind of figuring out all right now. Just kind of touch base. I did look real quick while Chief was talking about the flock camera locations that we're discussing for the park. We had 4: Brentwood at Brazoo, the new Brazoo, Brentwood at Pendleton, the Brentwood Park parking lot. Now we do have cameras in that parking lot already with license plate readers. I don't remember if that was removed or not. And the last was Manchester at Breckenridge Industrial Court. So kind of all the major entrances that would get vehicles near into the park.
Thank you very much. Public Works Department. I actually discovered the mystery of Alderman Gould and his effort to try to get into the meeting. He, if you can talk about this during your report, whether or not you've got plans for safety markings and signage along Van Mark Way and Florence Avenue intersections, places like that. He was talking about zebra stripes, perhaps, and things like that to mark the intersections, give drivers and vehicles an idea of what's going on.
Okay. Do you want to do that one first or go through the list?
No, go through,
Okay.
go with what you're doing. I just want, at some point.
Okay. Yeah, according to the list, the Litzinger and Bremerton, we've made pavement markings or improved pavement markings around the school. So McGrath and the high school, crossbars, stop bars, those have been improved, repainted. We also added the school stencils, so, the words school around the school zones painted in yellow lettering, that's done. The one thing we still have left to do, we measured, we had purchased a stop sign a while back. It's a solar-powered stop sign similar to the one at McKnight and York, except it has a decorative post and base, but the base is bigger than what we anticipated, so we can't use that one really at Bremerton and Litzinger, so we're just gonna make a swap. So we'll put the newer one over on McKnight, so it gets used, and then take the one at McKnight and York and move that over, and then we'll still have solar at both to make improvements. Because right now, it's just a conventional, I think it's a 30 by 30 stop sign there at Litzinger. And there was concern that people would blow through the stop sign, and that probably is true to some extent, especially since you've got both schools combined there now. So we'll make that change. This Strassner Drive between Memorial Park and YMCA, that crosswalk, I don't know if, I know it's been a while since we met, but I just wanted to point out that that got improved. The TAPCO system was installed. It's been in use since basically end of May, beginning of June. I don't know if you've had a chance to try it during low-level lighting is when it actually works. So when you press the push button on either side, lights come on the top of the sign, illuminate the yield triangles, and then illuminate the crosswalk. So right now, that's still in its trial phase, so we didn't pay anything for the equipment. We just had to rent a lift and work with them to put it up. So it's ours to keep.
Has Hoffman Brothers or anybody like that given you any feedback about?
Oh, that's not the one at Hoffman Brothers. We still have that one to do. This is over at Memorial Park.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we do need to put that one in, though, so that one's not on your list, but that is correct. We do need to do the Hoffman Brothers one.
I misunderstood.
We have the signs and everything. We just need to find a time to cut the sidewalk, put in the curb ramps, which we will do that this year still. So the materials are there. It's just a matter of scheduling. And then City Hall improvements, I'm sure you tried the new steps out with the handrails, it replaced the old one that was deteriorated. So that's a lot safer now. They just finished that up this week, the handrails, and they actually added handrails on both sides. If you recall, the old system only had the handrail on the outer portion and not the inner portion that's against the north facade. The next item is 645 Hanley Industrial Court's a little unusual. It's in the commercial area, near Hanley Park, basketball courts, that area. They want to put in speed cushions, but the traffic calming is for residential. So if you want, we could put the data collector up, because I don't know if there's necessarily a speeding problem back there. They say there is, but later on in the report, you'll see a traffic calming request for White Avenue. And, I think it's more perception. Maybe there is an occasional speeder in there, but again, it was for residential, not for commercial. They didn't submit the application like a resident would, where it's 2/3 of the signatures on the affected block, because it's really unique. You get the park on one side and then some commercial business owners on the other.
Right.
Well, I can see why that, as Dan says, our toolkit doesn't really address commercial areas. I mean,
Doesn't.
it's for residential where you have children, in streets and that type of thing. I mean, I wouldn't have any problem if we just wanted to collect data for maybe use by the police as far as the timing of when these are occurring or the speeding, since it is so close to our park.
Yeah, we can run it. It's no big deal. It's just, charge up the unit. It can run for about a 14, 15-day period before it loses power. And then I can pull the data through the cloud and drop it into reports.
That'd be fine, yeah.
Okay.
Do you need a motion?
Yeah, did you, what?
You need a motion to direct them?
Motion to do that, to direct staff to do
No.
that, or is that, okay?
Yeah, I just didn't want to chase down something that
I
you would say,
understand.
no, don't
Yeah.
do
Right,
it.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll submit the reports. We can either do it in the weekly report or bring it back here, whatever. And then Dorothy Avenue, Van Mark pedestrian sign confusion. I know I saw the pictures. We met with MoDOT on Monday about something unrelated, but I had asked them about those signs, and they said, well, the signs were put up per the plan. And I did actually check, their plans. They have a signing detail. So you've got the pedestrian warning sign where the person's walking. You've got the downward arrow, and then below that is cross traffic does not stop. So they actually did mark everything the way the plan sheet says. And then just to double check, under the MUTCD, Chapter 2C, .01 is all about warning signs. It's saying that you can't put up a warning sign like that. So it says warning signs call attention to unexpected conditions on or adjacent to a highway or street to situations that might not be readily apparent to road users. So they're basically saying cross traffic may not stop or cross traffic does not stop, which is a little unusual, but that's the way the guide allows the text to be written. Because I know what they're saying is, like, if you're on Cecilia or Melvin where these are close, the person coming from the side street may not necessarily see the blinking lights of the pedestrian warning system. So if you're the pedestrian, you need to kind of be cautious walking there, because you're going to have traffic coming from multiple angles.
Well, I took those pictures and asked you to look at this. I mean, if I'm driving, it says, and I see.
Drivers don't see it.
But if the lights are flashing,
The lights are flashing, but they should be seen if you're going east or west, yield to pedestrians, which is the state law, and stop at that triangle, the yield triangles that are on the pavement.
but then the sign that's posted on where you push the button says traffic does not stop.
Right.
So it's like you're telling the pedestrian one thing, it seems to be in conflict, I think, with a pedestrian car. Or is it to make both aware?
I think it's to make both aware, and I know TWM and I believe HDR, several different companies put together, HDR did the signs, TWN did the roadway. So several traffic engineers signed off on it, sealed it with their PE license seal. So I know that it matches what they planned, and I can see where there could be some confusion. I've not seen anybody use it yet.
Then how come these are different than what we see, what we put in on our local streets? Is this just because of the jurisdiction that this is MoDOT?
Yeah, MoDOT can do something slightly different than we do, but I know it's the same manufacturer. It's TAPCO, but you can kind of customize them to some extent. They work the same way. You press the button, a radio signal goes across to the other side.
But I
and
mean, the
all four
signage,
flash.
we've got signage that says, state law, you must stop at the crossing or these type of things.
Yeah, I think some of ours are incorrect because the true state law is that you yield to pedestrians. You could slow down,
Okay.
hit the brake, but not come to a complete stop and let them walk across. You know,
So these are more correct in the
Yes.
usage of a ped crossing
right.
than what we're doing. Okay. All right. Well, that somewhat explains my confusion.
Yeah, if there's still an issue, like when people are walking, we can certainly notify MoDOT and give them feedback, kind of like with the tunnel and the, storm runoff.
Well, the only thing I would mention, at the crossing at, by the kitchen conservatory that's being built, it has no yield signs at that crossing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that I didn't know. 'Cause
So,
it should.
you know, if it's, they're supposed to, then I think we just need to be consistent through that whole stretch, then not.
I know they trimmed the tree limbs we'd asked them to on the east side of Manderley, on the south side of Manchester by the chiropractic center. It blocked the sign and they trimmed that back.
But there's no yield there.
No yield at the kitchen conservatory.
You have any questions? Okay. All right.
Okay.
Got-
Yeah, wrong speed limit sign. They're aware of that, they being MoDOT. They, their sign shop's supposed to be fabricating at 20 mile per hour. If you look at those are a higher end, more decorative sign. So the backs of them are blacked out, just like the posts are blacked out too. Because it said, well, if it takes too long, we've got a 20 that we could put on there. It's just gonna have a silver backing until they put the one up with the black backing.
Okay.
It's pretty simple. Low-speed vehicles, I know we've talked about that before. So just to make you aware, from the Public Works Committee, it was decided that signage should go just on the areas that allow low-speed vehicles, not the reverse, which was to put them everywhere, which would have signs, kind of, 20-plus signs instead of maybe 8 or so. Because there's only like 4 areas that the low-speed vehicle is designated in that ordinance to be using.
When do you suppose those will be deployed?
I think Eric was working on a design, or maybe not. I mean, we'll put them up, we just need to see what's, aesthetically pleasing plus gets the message across. I know it's kind of a different thing. Most of the time you're not allowing, like golf carts are not allowing low-speed vehicles. In this case, we're saying that they are allowed. You're basically just shared a road type
Warning
sign.
pedestrians that there may be.
Right,
Right.
low-speed vehicles may be present, something simple like that.
Okay. Anybody have questions about that? Okay, thank you.
Patton Avenue, based on that water line on the, would it be the west side, it looks like it's too tight for either of those solar lights to fit. So the only other option would be keep looking for another solar light that does fit, because the base of the ones in York are too big. The base of the one we used at like Laverne Court is square, but it's too big with respect to the water line. So, right now it doesn't work. But I wouldn't, without doing more research, I wouldn't say it's completely dead. It's just dead for now till we find something, because the manufacturers make different things. Like the ones we bought, the squarish ones, they have changed those a little bit too. They've become better with the battery and, how long they'll last is, based on the settings you program.
Can you just keep your eyes open for those type and,
Yeah, and I can alert the resident too that asked about it and
Yeah,
just say
would you?
that for
Because-
now, it's no, but,
let her know, because
usually in the fall, we get where we can actually like start doing a lot more research on these
if I have to respond, then I'm going to get 50 questions I don't have the answers to. So
Yeah.
I'll let you be that guy.
Okay.
Okay.
That's me. And then going back to the original question at the beginning, Florence Avenue and those areas, I did not see anything in the MoDOT plans. They repaved the section of that, or somebody did whenever the sewer main was put in. I did have them come today and just put back traditional crosswalk, the 4-inch wide, or I guess it's 6-inch wide stripes, 4 or 6, whatever it is, but white going perpendicular to Florence.
Right.
If we wanted to, we've got thermoplastic and you can lay it at a diagonal, which to Alderman Gould's point would be the zebra striping. You'd call out more in between those 2 bars. It can be done if that's what's desired.
Okay.
Now, we'll just have to take measurements and make sure we have enough material. I don't want to start it and halfway complete it either. I know we did that like in our own parking lot with yellow, where we have like a no parking zone, like for deliveries and ADA and that sort of thing.
if that's the area you want us to do, we can do that. I don't know if there's other areas. but
I'll reach out to Alderman Gould and
I
find
think
out.
that was the main area.
That was the main area
Florence.
right there.
Yeah, right where the trail cuts across Florence, because right now there's just two skinny bars.
I think there was something in the plan originally to have some type of cross markings there, whatever can fit.
Yeah, and I don't know if it came later because, that changed a little bit there. I didn't see anything in the plans today, but I know the other thing we added today was that little island that's to the Van Mark Apartments. We put 2 delineator post markers on there so that in the wintertime, if it snows, we'll know that that's the corner of the island. You don't want snow to cover it and then you hit it with the blade and damage the vehicle.
Right, okay.
So we pop those on, and if somebody breaks them off, it's no big deal. We'll put ones back up. It's just like an epoxy and then some fine little bolts that hold it in.
That's on Banmark Way?
Yes. Yeah, you'll notice it and it's got reflectors on it too, so at nighttime it'll reflect, so you can kind of see that there's a curve there.
Right, thank you very much. Yep. Item 7 is our consent agenda. We have just the minutes from the last meeting. Anybody have a chance to look at those? And if there's any changes? Seeing none, the minutes will stand as submitted. We have no old business. Under new business, we have the renewal of the striker maintenance contract.
Yes, thank you. This is an amendment to a resolution this cleans up all of our items purchased through Stryker and maintenance that was required on an annual basis for medical equipment. So all of our heart monitors, our stretchers, and AEDs are included in this. And we've added things over the current agreement, so this one cleans it up, puts everything on the same renewal. This is a budgeted item, and we need approval to move this to the board to approve the resolution.
Given that, can I have a motion to approve this expenditure to the Board of Aldermen for consideration? Second? Second. Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Roll call, please. Yes.
Alderman Leckler?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries.
Thank you very much. The next item under new business, item B, the traffic calming investigation on the 9300 block of White Avenue.
This one's pretty straightforward. So the petition asked us to look at possible speed cushions on the section of White 9300 block, which would be between Kempton and Hatton. They said that they observed speeders and said there's quite a number of speeders that were in the area, and thought that we should make this block of White similar to what we've done on Pine on the west end of town. So we ran the data collectors beginning of August to just last week. Data's all compiled here for you. So the highlights would be, 85th percentile speed is 25 miles per hour, which means that 85% of the total cars are doing that speed. And then, 50th percentile 22, average speed 21.6. Number of vehicles in that roughly 14-day period, almost 6,700 vehicles. So that's not a whole lot of cars. I mean, it seems like a lot, but it isn't. Because when you look at the average daily traffic, which are how many vehicles per day, you've got like 462 on a Monday through Friday and 444 vehicles per day on the weekend. So just to kind of put it in perspective, Pine sees about 700 vehicles per day versus this is in the fours. There's hundreds more on Pine. This section of White, for some odd reason, doesn't have a whole lot. Some of the interesting things here would be like, 12 miles per hour is the minimum that we observed, but there was a 51. 51 is kind of insane, and it's on a Wednesday at 9:33 in the westbound direction. So I have no idea why you would be going that fast, but they did.
So reading this, I mean, you're looking at 75% of the vehicles that pass by within that period of time were either at or below the speed limit.
Right. When I look at it, I break it into that speed range. Some call it speed bins. You're looking at like 5 mile per hour increments.
Right.
So you're looking at the total vehicles in those increments. And when I look at it, like typically enforcement's at 10 miles per hour over the speed limit. So that would put you at like, say, 30, 31. So when you're looking at like 31 and above, you've only got 80 vehicles out of 6,613 that basically went 10 or more over,
Right.
that's only 1.2%. It's pretty small.
That really small percentage doesn't support any kind of calming.
Typically, no, not unless this would be like a school zone or near some other special purpose, facility that you'd be, it is residential, and yeah, there's a couple speeders, but it's not nearly as bad as, say, like Pine, when you were at like 10, 15% of the total, and it was a greater volume, so that meant like hundreds of vehicles a day were doing that.
So do you, insofar as the traffic calming kit is concerned, the folks that first submitted this and then submitted the information, do you get back to them and provide them this
I
information?
contact the person that originally submitted it, and
Okay.
then, if the rest of
Provide
them
them
want
this
the data,
explanation.
we can give it to them.
Would you mind? I mean,
Yeah, we can do
I
that.
think that's a.
Because I always reach out to them to let them know, hey, the
expect to
report's
get a
done, we
phone
brought it to a committee. I can't tell them what I did before I bring it to you. I don't feel right about that. It
No,
needs to come to committee.
and that's fine. I'm just saying, I think that, I think getting this data back to the person that first requested the consideration of calming, for sure, is important.
Yeah, because the pie chart really, in
It
my
does.
mind, visualizes it better than anything. It's like, well, you see all these big wedges, it shows the majority of everybody's doing the right thing, and there's this tiny little sliver
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
that's a little over 1% that's being bad,
Right.
So I wouldn't support putting one in. That's my opinion.
Okay. Anything else on that, or is that,
No,
Okay.
no,
Do you have
we
any
don't
questions?
need anything
Okay.
if you don't want
All
us
right.
to do anything.
Dan, thank you very much.
Yep.
We have a second opportunity for citizen comments. If anybody here or online has an interest on any issue involving public safety, please step forward. You'll be recognized for 3 minutes. Nobody? Seeing no other items on this agenda, I declare this meeting adjourned. Thank you.